When it comes with cars with big shoes to fill, they don't get a whole lot bigger than the Mazda3. It's been the top seller in Australia now since 2011, and now there's an all-new third generation heading our way.
Over the years, the 3 has eroded the dominance of the Toyota Corolla, to the point where the pair have traded top-selling blows since 2011. But in 2013, Toyota's had the upper hand thanks to the arrival of a new Corolla. But Mazda is confident this new model will be the ammunition it needs to fire it back to the top of the sales podium.
So something that's been a staple of the 3 since it arrived on the scene is design. It stands out a little bit, looks a little bit more sophisticated than a lot of cars out there. It's no different on this latest third generation one, although I'm not completely convinced with the positioning of the number plate. Inside too, it's a really big step up. There's a more upmarket feel to it all, starting with a 7-inch display that sits prominently on top of the dash. But even the materials they've used, some of the metal look finishes and even the sort of fake carbon fibre stuff, just looks a little bit more upmarket than you might expect in this style of car. The 3 also brings some interesting technology. Now, it's optional on a lot of models, but things like auto braking, which is very common at the top end of the market, only just really filtering into this end of the market now. So can stop you at low speeds and potentially save an embarrassing crash and save you a few shekels in the process. But the instrument cluster looks really nice. It's got a big central tacho. On lower models it's actually a speedo, but quite nicely presented and works pretty well for the style of car. There's also a newfound simplicity to the cabin, so you've got your instruments here, your ventilation there, and a big central display system here which controls that main screen. So it's almost a bit like the BMW iDrive system, right down to the additional buttons around it. It's also clear there's been a lot more attention to detail applied to this latest Mazda3. It feels like a more upmarket car. And that translates to the driving too. So straight away you notice the steering isn't quite as alert or immediately accurate as the previous Mazda3, but what it does have is a bit more meat to the feel, a bit more weight to it, particularly at higher speeds, so it's got a little bit less of that nervousness going on. And in many ways that's indicative of the entire driving feel of the car. It's got a more mature personality to it, feels a little bit more upmarket. As for the engines, they're all the latest Sky Active technology, so Mazda's marketing term for fuel efficiency, and it works. Performance is certainly up there. The engine sounds pretty basic, but it gets on with the job. It's certainly got decent torque or low down performance that makes it pretty snappy at lower speeds. The transmission is often a little bit keen to change up a gear rather than hold on to gears, particularly when you're on and off the throttle, but if you want to, flick it over into sport mode and play around with the paddles on the steering wheel. Select whatever you want. And it's a 6-speed auto too, with quite a broad spread of ratios.
Most 3s will get a 2-litre engine, but the car I'm driving has a 2.5 litre with a hearty 138 kilowatts of power, and it's backed up with 250 newton metres of torque. So that will be fitted to more expensive models, things like the sporty SP25. Of course, pricing is a huge factor at this end of the market, and Mazda admits buyers will be paying more for this third generation model, so expect rises of around $2,000 to $3,000.
So all up, it's taken the Mazda3 to another level. It's certainly given it a more European feel, both in the driving and in terms of the cabin presentation. So it'll be interesting to see how it sells and whether it can keep that number 1 position.
The new Mazda3 will arrive in local dealerships in early 2014.